can't it just be easy? Cardinals moved to 2-2. The Cardiac Cardinals at that.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I mean, why do we have to do it this way? Why does it have to happen this way? Why do we have to get frustrated in the first half and then all collectively look and say, where the hell's that been? Alex Lancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. The Cardinals moved to 2-2 and are a San Francisco 49ers win on Monday night away from being a part of a four-way tie atop the NFC West. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Prize Picks. First time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. So Cardinals win 26-16. This was a tale of two halves. This was a tale of two different Arizona Cardinals teams. And this is what the interesting part of this season has been so far. We'll get to the good stuff in a second, I promise. Why the lapse in the first half? Why does it take 30 minutes for this offense to wake up? Why has the defense been put in a situation where they have to keep opposing teams down points-wise for the Cardinals to stay in games? Why does it happen? It's not rhetorical. I don't know why it happens. I don't know why they have a real issue with getting any sort of momentum, any sort of fluidity in the first half of games. We haven't seen it at all. We saw one long, great touchdown drive against the Chiefs in week 1. And then we haven't seen a whole lot. There were sustained drives in week 3 against the Rams, none of which resulted in touchdowns. But it's the malaise, just the lethargy in the first half for the Cardinals offense. It's surprising. It doesn't make any sense because when you pivot to the second half today, not only did the offensive line, Sean Kugler, make adjustments, not only did Vance Joseph continue his game plan, Cliff Kingsbury made great adjustments moving into the second half, which is something we haven't really seen from him, at least in week 1 and week 3. And it all kind of came together. The Cardinals beat a team that they should have beat on the road, even though this is their first win against the Carolina Panthers since 2013. They did what they were supposed to do if they want to have any sort of semblance of repeatability from what we saw in 2021. The record doesn't need to be 11-6 for the Cardinals to have a successful season. I'd much rather the Cardinals go through these trials, go through these issues early on when nobody played during the preseason, start 2-2 instead of start 4-0 with kind of the Cardinals aren't really a 4-0 team, but they're 4-0 to start the season, so good for them. This is how a team learns. This is how a team grows. This is how a team gets better. And this is how the Arizona Cardinals are going to need to deal with what they've dealt with through the first 3 weeks, getting a W here. And then it doesn't get any easier for them in week 5. I mean, they've got the only undefeated team in the NFL lurking around the corner coming into State Farm Stadium in week 5. What we saw from the Cardinals today was resolve, was growth, and was this defense really showing that they are the more stable side of the football now, right now. Not to say it's going to be in perpetuity, not going to say the offense won't figure it out and play 60 minutes of football instead of just 30. But the defense was the star of the show today. 3 out of the 4 scoring drives by the Arizona Cardinals came on the heels of a forced turnover by the defense. Now, the Dennis Gardeck one was the easiest. It was the tip, pick, run back, 2 scores, Kyler Murray walk-in touchdown. One was a much longer drive, but the truth still remains that 3 of the 4 drives where the Cardinals scored points was immediately following a Carolina Panthers possession that ended in a turnover by the heels of the Arizona Cardinals defense. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms. There's so much to discuss here, and it's not going to be You can follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. You're going to see the first half. I will continue to be relentless when it comes to Cliff Kingsbury not doing his job. I will. And this is never, ever. I see hate thrown around a lot. I don't hate anybody. This is opinion based upon the avatar that is the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. It is never a direct attack at Cliff Kingsbury. It's a nice guy. I've interviewed him. This has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the inability to elevate the talent that he's got on his side of the ball in a time where the Arizona Cardinals absolutely have to have this team have the offense as its strength. I said it at the halftime show. I've said it all offseason. The Arizona Cardinals defense job should be to set the table for the Arizona Cardinals offense to eat. Not be the strength, not be absolute powerhouse on the defensive side of the ball. They showed it today, but that's not what their true responsibility is on the defensive side of the ball. It's not. And we've seen them having to strain and do a little bit more than what their true job is so far through this season because the offense hasn't really started to mesh from second one to the end of a game. And we're starting to hopefully see the evolution of this offense where the Carolina Panthers defense is good. Jeremy Chin hobbled early on, so it made the Cardinals' job a little bit easier on the offensive side of the ball today, but the defense is still good, okay? And what we saw, and this is how it's supposed to work. This is how great teams operate. And we've seen it on the other side with the Chiefs and with the Rams that if your defense can force 3 and outs, and your offense can flip the script on the opposing defense, keep them on the field longer, keep them tired, especially multiple 3 and outs in a row, and then Cardinals come down and score points, and then the defense forces a 3 and out. That's how winning teams operate. Your offense is on the field longer, and the defense for the opposing team is tired. That's the optimal scenario for any team, and that's what we experienced with the Arizona Cardinals today. It took a little bit longer to get there, but the second half was a masterful performance by the team of the Arizona Cardinals, not just one entity or another. That's the offense putting up points, which makes it easier for the defense to be a little bit more opportunistic, which makes it easier for the defense to force 3 and outs, which makes it easier for the offense to gain some momentum. A cohesive unit for a full half of football is what we saw today. You could say we saw it with the Rams, but that was more, miraculous is kind of, it was miraculous that the Cardinals beat the Rams. I think that's pretty fair to say. When you have a quarterback like Kyler Murray, it makes it easier to be miraculous, but it was more miraculous. Today was a true team effort in the second half, and they beat a team they should have beat on the road and a team they haven't beaten since 2013, onward and upward, Philly in week 5. What were the glaring positives that we saw today? There's a couple, and if these things continue, we can have a very different Arizona Cardinals season in 2022, even better than what we potentially thought it would be when the season started. I'll talk about that next. Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, hanging out with me live on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Another entity that I like to thank is Prize Picks. Okay, PrizePicks.com. Prize Picks has an app. PrizePicks.com. You pick 2 to 5 players. If they score more or less than the Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 10 times the money on any entry. Okay, so going in, Kyler Murray has an X amount of passing yards. The Prize Picks projects as the line. You say more or less. Click it. Kyler Murray touchdowns. Boom, more or less. You can parlay 2 through 5, win up to 10 times your money. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. You can do NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, PGA, college football, on and on and on. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They're safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, you get 100. You deposit, you get 50. Don't forget to use promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Alex Lancy, Locked On Cardinals, big win, 2-2. A San Francisco 49ers win away from being tied for first with the other three NFC West teams. Could have gone a lot worse through 4 weeks. Really could have. I mean, the Cardinals shouldn't have won in Vegas. Made a great comeback, got a W. Big win. Moving to 2-2, big deal. Today, must win in the respect that, first of all, they didn't want to drop to 1-3. And secondly, they're finally on the field against a team who they were better than. And getting W's against teams that you're better than are how you stack wins in the NFL. And the Cardinals are they're not middle of the road. I think they're in the upper crust of the middle class of NFL teams. And you got to beat teams that you got to beat. You got to beat teams that you can beat. You got to beat teams that you're better than. And they did. Christian McCaffrey was pretty much blanketed. He had 2 chunk gains in the touchdown later in the game. But all in all, this defense looked fantastic. If we're going to go hockey here, Locked On NFL Hockey Edition, the 3 stars. I mean, Zach Allen's going to get a contract extension. Zach Allen's played great. And we've never really gotten to see him with momentum because he's always been injured. Mid-round pick out of Boston College. A dude comes in. He's J.J. Watt light over there, it seems. J.J. Watt, batted ball. I think he had 2 batted balls, one of which ended up in a Dennis Gardeck interception. Zaven Collins, 2nd star. We're seeing it. We're seeing the growth. And this isn't going to be an argument of should Vance Joseph played him sooner. We're not going to do that. The fact that Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins started in base to start the game, that's a sign of potentially good things to come. Marco Wilson got beat a couple times today. Byron Murphy doesn't get targets thrown at him. I don't know if he's slowly becoming a lockdown corner in the NFL. You normally see it a little bit earlier than I think, what is this, his 4th year? And now we're starting to see Byron Murphy, and I've said this, like, if Byron Murphy joins the ranks of Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson as upper echelon players on the defensive side of the ball, this defense is going to look different. If Zaven Collins and Zach Allen can become impact makers at their respective positions, this defense can be different. And we saw it today against an inferior opponent. We saw them do what they were supposed to do against an opponent they were sharing the field with. Okay? And on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, Hollywood Brown, man. It's working. It's working. It's never been about the Hollywood Brown trade for me. I thought it was a good trade for the team. It was the fact that they gave him a 1st-round pick to get a guy for 1 year of inexpensive contract who's going to want a contract extension at the end of the season. If he continues to play like this, if he and Kyler Murray continue to do this, then it's going to be worth it and it's going to be fine. The only uncomfortable conversation is going to be, well, what do you do with DeAndre Hopkins? Because you're not going to have 2 $25+ million per year wide receivers on the same roster. You would think that's not going to be the case. But Hollywood Brown, man, I mean, it's working. And it's working in a way that can open up the rest of the offense. Zach Ertz, it's working. And it's working because now Hollywood Brown, for the rest of this season, maybe more than what we've seen through first 3 weeks from opposing defensive coordinators and defenses and head coaches, is they're going to have to account for him a lot more heavily, which should start to unlock Pandora's box of possibilities for this offense. And that's something that can be very, very beneficial for the Cardinals in the future. If Hollywood Brown works out like he seems to have worked out, he went 14 for 140 last week, had a bunch of catches in that beautiful touchdown catch. That was the Christian Kirk route that we've seen. And now Hollywood Brown's an upgrade. So the fact that that's working, regardless of the shortcomings of the offense at times so far this season, that's worked. Even in the blowout loss to Kansas City, Hollywood Brown caught a garbage touchdown. So like it's something that we haven't seen here since a young Larry. Like stop it. I'm not comparing Larry Fitzgerald to anybody. Okay, I promise. But we haven't seen young quarterback, young receiver at an A level since, you tell me. This is something that for the future, for the next 5 years, if Kyler Murray can have his wide receiver one, his best friend, guy he played in college with, like if this works out, I mean, everything changes. Everything changes. And I understand that that was the reasoning for the trade, giving up the first round pick by Steve Keim, because it'll unlock everything else. And one last time, it's never about the trade for me. It was that they had more glaring needs elsewhere, and the fact that it wasn't going to be an inexpensive contract for more than just this season. Because remember, he shares an agent with DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Deebo Samuel, all three of whom did not play the extent of their rookie scale contract before getting massive contract extensions. I'm going to continue the good, because there was a lot more good today than bad, but the bad was more pronounced because it's something that we've been seeing for the last 60 plus games or whatever. How many games? 48, 50, over 50 games that Cliff Kingsbury's been the head coach. It needs to be discussed even in a victory. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll roll on with that next. First, I get to talk about Built Bar. We got another cookie dough. Oh my God. Cookie dough chunk puffs. I've got some on top of my fridge. Okay. If you haven't had Built Bar puffs yet, you're depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. So cookie dough chunk puff. Okay. It's covered in chocolate, 160 calories, 15 grams of protein. What makes them great, and what I've really expanded my horizons with, is, say you want something sweet, but you don't want to, eat something with massive amounts of sugar. Built Bar can do it for you. If you want something in the morning to get you going with your coffee, Built Bar can do it for you. There's so many different avenues that Built Bar can enrich your life, and cookie dough chunk puffs is just another flavor. Run to Built.com to snag a box for you and your family right now. It's a perfect treat, man. Like, again, covered in chocolate, healthy, tasty, light, fluffy texture. It's protein-infused marshmallow. That's what a puff is. What's great is that all the Built Bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff, okay? Snack, treat, whatever. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms. I'm your host, Alex Clancy. Cardinals get a W, 26-16. They scored 23 unanswered at one point. It was a good win against a team they should have beat, and it didn't look great early. So, again, positives. Zaven Collins, Zach Allen, J.J. Watt look good, and Hollywood Brown is everything as advertised. Him and Kyler Murray's relationship is everything as advertised. The not so great. Kyler Murray didn't look good in the first half. And I do give Cliff a lot. I give Cliff a lot. Some of that was on Kyler, for sure. As all of it is. This isn't just Cliff Kingsbury's fault. I do think that Kyler Murray has outgrown Cliff Kingsbury as a coach. I do think that Cliff Kingsbury is holding Kyler Murray back. And I do think that Kyler Murray hasn't had the greatest start to to his fourth year. I think all of that can be true. And I think that one of them is a reason, as part of a reason for the other, is that Kyler Murray's not growing, evolving as a quarterback as quickly as some others, because he's doing a lot of it on his own and guessing a lot of it on his own, because Cliff Kingsbury doesn't have the ability to help him grow and help him get better as a quarterback at the NFL level. I just believe that. And I think we see it constantly. And the first half was another reason of that. The flashbulb memory that we're going to have now is Kyler Murray getting video of him saying, hurry up, let's go, let's go, let's go. And that him getting pissed off at Cliff, and Cliff, snapping back at him. Like, something's amiss between the two of them. And we're on year 4. It should be getting easier. We shouldn't be seeing Groundhog's Day, Sonny and Cher, Bill Murray every morning the same way. We shouldn't be seeing it as much as we do. So the first half is troubling because Cliff Kingsbury scripts plays, and the Cardinals still haven't scored a point in the first quarter. He has a week to script plays based upon the defense that he's going to be facing, and they can't put up a single point in the first quarter. They've gone a full game of first quarters without scoring a point to start the 2022 NFL season. And these aren't against, These aren't against 1%er defenses. This is Kansas City, Vegas. The Rams have a good defense, and the Panthers have a good defense, but it's not the Bills. It's not the Eagles. So that's troubling with Philly coming into town and first place in the NFC West up for grabs potentially. They've got to figure it out. And, he gets interviewed at halftime, Cliff does. It's like, well, got to call better plays, got to do this. That's your job. You've been saying this since 2019. And the reason why I harp on it so much on Twitter is because I'm trying to show that we haven't grown that much. The players have gotten better, but the core issue here, the spine of the issue, is the play calling and the leadership from the head coaching position. And we saw it again today. The defense, 3 turnovers that led to Cardinals scores afterwards. Cardinals are 2-0 on the road, 0-2 at home. These are things. First and goal from the 7. There was James Conner gets thrown to the ground, 50-yard penalty. Will Hernandez comes into contact with the ref. Questionable. He did he did touch the ref, that's for sure. And I found out today, apparently, that the only non-offsetting penalties when both teams have a penalty is touching a ref. I don't know if it was because it was dead ball. I don't really understand why, but the Cardinals ended up having that penalty, having to call timeout, another penalty, and it was 3rd and 27. And the Cardinals ended up kicking a field goal. This won't fly against the top teams in the NFL. If the Cardinals play in the first half the way that they did today against Philly on Sunday, they're going to be down 3 scores at halftime. Because Philly and Jalen Hurts are a good football team. They can run the ball. Miles Sanders ran roughshod today. Jalen Hurts looks good. Jalen Hurts almost beat the Cardinals when he came into town 2 years ago in his second start. I think it was his second start as an NFL quarterback after beating the Saints, after going in and beating the Saints. So the first half is more troubling to me than the second half is able to be enjoyed. Because if the first half doesn't happen, if the Cardinals put together a full game of offensive output, the defense doesn't need to play the way they did today for the Cardinals to win. The defense after Kansas City in week 1, the defense has been pretty excellent. Pretty excellent. They had a bad first half against the Raiders. The Rams helped them out a couple times with drop touchdown passes from Cooper Kupp, and I think Allen Robinson dropped one, so it makes it look closer than it was. But defenses get breaks all the time. Like, the defense has looked good by all accounts, especially when the offense has mailed it in for the first half of all 4 games this year. Save 1 drive against Kansas City in week 1. The offense has mailed it in this year, save 1 offensive drive in week 1 against Kansas City. Imagine how much offensive output could be put together if the Cardinals play a full game on offense. Cohesion, preparedness, ready to roll from the first second and not wait until halftime to wake up, because that's legitimately what's happened. Save 1 drive in week 1 through the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. That's why I get on Cliff. That's why. That's your side of the ball. If the strength of the Arizona Cardinals is not the offense, why is Cliff Kingsbury here? Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Cardinals get a W 26-16, can take it home. Philly, the only undefeated team in the NFL left, coming into town on Sunday. Lot more reaction, lot more conversation this week. Thanks for hanging out with me live. I'll talk to you